I'm with Yehuda Bachana, director of Netivyah. Now, Yehuda, what is Netivyah?
Well, Netivyah is the path or the way of the Lord.
And how many years have you been here in the land, this organization?
Well, the organization has been here for nearly 50 years. I'm 46, so I have been here for 46 years.
Wow.
I was born into the congregation, into the ministry.
You help the poor and needy here in Jerusalem. How many people do you help over the year, and what do you do?
Well, we work with about 150 families. Most of them are large families with children. So the numbers are anywhere between 900 to 1,000 people, like with including kids, and it's households, 150 households. And we help with food and basically giving nutritional security for families.
Is there a lot of poor families here in Jerusalem?
There are a lot of poor families. I don't know if I can compare it to other places in the world, but there are families that are definitely lacking food, kids that don't have food on the table. And that's what we're trying to fix, is placing food on the table. I can give you a few stories of families. One story that came to us not too long ago is a single mom with 3 kids, ultra-Orthodox. Her husband just got up and left the family, a mother, 3 kids, all alone with debt. And basically that's it. He went and left. She couldn't pay the electric bill for a while, and the electricity company came to cut down the power. Now, you do that from within the house. So as soon as the 2 people came, the 2 electricians came, they sensed something is wrong. So they kind of asked for a glass of water and, just to peek around the kitchen. They noticed something is off, and they noticed that the kitchen is completely empty. So they got to talk to the mother, to the lady, and hear her story. And instead of cutting the electricity, actually went around and called the municipalities, called the social services, basically demanding that they come now to the house, since children are hungry and the house is empty. And the social services came that day and immediately called us the same day, asking if that family could come and receive food. And obviously we said, yes, she can come. And since then, that family, that ultra-Orthodox family, a single mom with 3 kids, have been receiving food from us.
So this is life-saving work.
It is. In Israel, the social services don't really take kids out of families as long as there's no violence or abuse. But in cases of nutrition security, social services will ask or demand that the child sleeps in a boarding school. So the child remains in the house under the custody of the parents, but they sleep in a boarding school. So for vacations, summer vacation, the holidays, the child does get to go home, but most of the year they sleep at school, receive the school and food. So one family that we have from the north, it's 8 children. It's a family of 10, 2 parents, 8 children, and we are their last stop. Basically, social services told us and told the family, as long as they come here to receive food, the children can stay home. Once the arrangement stops, the children have to go to a boarding school because the parents can't provide enough food, enough security, nutrition security for those 8 children. So that's an example.
So you're keeping families together as well.
I don't know how much I could say that we're keeping families together. We're just making sure that there's food on the table.
Do you actually partner with social services?
Yes. Actually, it started around the year 2001 with a decision that came that, it's good that we study the Bible. It's good that we teach the Bible. It's good that we're believers, but we have to put it in action. We have to do something about it. So it started from a small food distribution center, something small like 18 families that would come and receive actually cooked or baked food. And over the years it grew until we got to 2010, where it was too big. We got to a place where we were feeding 220 families, And it was too much for us to screen the families, to go through their bank statements and see who's really needy, who's not needy, who can we help or not help. So then 2010, we went to the social services saying, listen, we have this organization. We're handing out food. Basically, what we hand out is frozen goods that a family can choose. Basically, a family comes and they get to choose from about 8 different products what kind of combination they want. Each family gets a quota of so many kilos or pounds, and they get to decide how to distribute those pounds. For example, if they want a little bit of chicken, a little bit of fish, and a little bit of ground beef, they get to organize it the way that family wants. Then we have fresh fruits and vegetables and dry goods, such as cornflakes for the kids, or rice, or pasta, or anything else that they want. We have about 50 different products that each family can choose what that family needs. So it's a kind of a small mini market that people can come, families can come and choose their food. So 2010, we went to the social services saying, we can't screen the families, so that's where you come in place. We'll work with several neighborhoods that are considered to be of the more poor side of Jerusalem. You get to choose from each neighborhood anywhere between 10 to 20 families of the worst cases, the worst families in that neighborhood, and send them over to us, and we'll make sure they have food on the table. So since 2010, that's been the arrangement. We have 150 families that we work with the social services that they get to screen and send to us only the most needy families.
Must be a real testimony to the social services that you as believers are doing this.
Yes, everybody knows that we're believers, but we're not doing it as a means of evangelism. It's basically, it's real. Like we are able to cut the two different sides between evangelism and giving food for the needy. Because in Judaism, each mitzvah, each good deed has to have its own purpose. And you can't use one in order to manipulate the other. I'll give you an example. If you go to a hospital to visit somebody sick, it's a mitzvah, it's a good deed. You go visit the sick, as Jesus commanded us. But there, once you're in the hospital, you remember that you have another friend in the hospital. What do? Can you go visit him? Well, of course you can. But according to Judaism, here's the interesting part. You have to go outside of the hospital and re-enter with the focus of that person, of the second person. Meaning each deed has its own focus. So you go visit the one friend, then you go out of the hospital and re-enter with the purpose of visiting the second person. So it's the same idea also with evangelism. We don't use we don't use the food for evangelism purposes. We're very strict about it because I feel that it loses the purity, it manipulates or loses the purity of the good deed of putting food on the table. And for us, that is the main purpose. The main purpose is making sure that those kids have food on the table, regardless of evangelism.
Now, Israel's had 2 years of war, so have you seen the poverty situation deteriorate over those 2 years of war?
I would say less than one would expect. Yes, it's raising. It's becoming harder, but less than I would expect. Less.
Do you help Holocaust survivors?
Yes, on a different angle. One is every once in a while, meaning about once a year, we hand out coupons, like vouchers, money in a card for Holocaust survivors. They can use that in a variety of different shops, supermarkets, and get whatever they need. And second, we have here in the congregation, we have a group of about 50 Holocaust survivors and refugees. So those people that were displaced because of the war, not necessarily they went through the Holocaust, but they were displaced through the war. And they come here about 3, maybe even 4 times a year for the big holidays. And we have an event for them with a meal, with a present and music. And we have an event here. It's pretty touching. It's pretty nice. I myself missed most of these meetings and missed most of these 2 years since I was also displaced in the war. I'm a reservist, and I was also called to serve during this war.
So here at Netivyah, you have Ruach Israel. What's that in Hebrew? What's that mean, and what is it?
Ro'ei Israel is the name of the congregation. Basically, Netivyah, it's the same organization, okay? Netivyah is the cover for the ministry. That is a Bible teaching organization, preach the gospel in Israel and abroad. We have a food distribution. As Netivyah, we help, as I said, Holocaust survivors, giving scholarships to Messianic students all across Israel. And the Ro'ei Israel congregation is only the congregation. It's the name of the congregation. It's basically kind of one of the projects of Netivyah. It's what we do, but it has a name. Ro'ei Israel means the shepherd of Israel. And the congregation is the one that's actually been around for 50 years. I was born into the congregation, and from the congregation, the ministry grew.
So do you meet on a Saturday or do you meet on a Sunday? And is it a very Jewish messianic service that you do?
No.
Maybe very different than a Christian service in the West?
So the congregation is definitely different than anything that, is if you're from a believer point of view, it's very different than anything that you know. It resembles a synagogue. We meet on a Saturday. We pray from a traditional prayer book, a prayer book that you can find in any other synagogue in the world. We read the weekly Torah portions, and obviously we preach mixed or combined a preaching of the New Testament and the weekly Torah portion. I must say that it's not a new invention. It's not new. The congregation and the way we apply it in the Messianic world or in the world of faith in Yeshua is different and rather new, but it was not new in the Second Temple period. Most of the prayers I can't say most of the prayers, some of the prayers. For example, the Amidah prayer was already known in the Second Temple period. It was known in the times of Yeshua. Yeshua went to the synagogue. If you believe that Yeshua went to the synagogue as was his custom, that's the term in the New Testament, that prayer was known. And the reading of the weekly Torah portion was also known. It was known for about 450 years before Yeshua, from the days of Ezra and Nehemiah, from the very beginning of the Second Temple era, as the Second Temple was being built. So Yeshua came and he went to the synagogue, whether if it's in Kfar Nahum, Capernaum, or Nazareth, and there was already the habit or the custom of the weekly Torah portion and the Haftarah, the reading from the prophets. We can see it in multiple places. For example, Acts chapter 13, that Paul goes to the synagogue and they read from Moses, they read from the Torah, and they read from the prophets. That's the weekly Torah portion. We read it in Acts 15, that James says every week that from the nations they don't have to convert to Judaism, but how do they read, how do they study? As every week you go to the synagogue and Moses is being read. That's the custom, Acts 15. So we go through the same prayers.
Tell us about the House of Healing.
Houses for Healing. Okay, so first of all, I have to mention Brian Massey. He is the heart behind that project. A couple of years ago, Brian Massey approached Netivyah and said, I have an idea. In America, there is this system that people can't afford housing for their medical procedures when they come from different cities. And we provide, Brian Massey in America provides what you call houses for healing. It's places for people that come, for housing for people that come from a different city or a different country. And exactly at that time that Brian Massey approached us, Joseph, the founder of the ministry, he was in the hospital, and next to him there was a patient from Lod, it's a different city from Jerusalem, and his wife, they were elderly. His wife was sleeping in the room with him on a chair. They couldn't afford a house or a room, and she didn't drive. She was elderly, so she just stayed in the room sleeping, cringed on a sofa. Or it's not exactly a sofa, it's kind of these, how do I call this chair? Kind of on a chair. And he said, that's a good idea. So Brian Massey came over, and shared with us his vision. And we went ahead and rented multiple houses for people that come from different cities. So what we do is we work again with social services. We don't do the screening. We work with different hospitals, and those that need help housing, the social services of the hospital, they refer those patients to us, and they get to sleep in our houses for a period of time, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, up to a month, for free. It's basically, we helped multiple people, and children, soldiers, and all kinds of patients that came from all over the country for a procedure, mostly cancer treatments, to Jerusalem, and they couldn't afford the housing. Instead of driving back and forth 3-4 hours, per session, they just come in to Jerusalem and get to stay for that procedure in one of our houses free of charge.
So what is your prayer for the ministry, and what is your prayer for the land?
Prayer for the ministry, prayer for the land is, first of all, that we continue to be a light, that God uses us for his glory, that we will be tools for his work and for his glory and for his purpose for us. So I don't have a personal prayer or personal request also for the ministry. It's just that we are tools in God's hands. We serve Yeshua, we serve Jesus. The one prayer that I do have is for the children, for the youth, that God touches the youth, the next generation, that enables us to touch the kids, to touch the youth, to keep our children in the right path, the path of the Lord, the path of faith, and the path of good deeds.
What's your website for people who'd maybe like to know more about the projects that you do for feeding people and for helping the soldiers? What's your website address?
Netivyah.org.
Great. Well, Yehuda, thank you very much for sharing today.
Thank you.